Chapter 90. Mission. The time of our meeting is connected to the relationships that you have. As I explained before, I was not the one who decided if and when we would meet, but it was you who determined everything. I can tell you that the soul tied to you brought you here at this exact time once before, so today is the exact same day of the same month of the year when you first came here in your dream. It was your intention that brought you here to meet her again, just like the first time when you both met according to your memory, so that you could remember her. I wasn't involved in this decision at all. All I did was to follow your desire, she explained. As for my request of asking you to come and see me here, this was a wish I specifically had since I had the desire to meet you. I was flattered. Oh, why did you have this desire to meet me? I felt you are someone who had left me to live somewhere else for a long time, and today you have returned to see me. Don't you think I should be happy? She asked with a teasing smile. I do, and I'm very happy as well. Well, that's what I feel at this moment too, she admitted, and looked down at the floor. You mean that we have been together before? I couldn't quite grasp what she was telling me. Yes, you might not be so excited as I am to see me today because you're still in the state of forgetfulness. But I have never forgotten it. I still vividly remember the exact moment you left, even though it was more than 80,000 years ago, she admitted. What? I exclaimed. More than 80,000 years ago. Yes, I've been counting the days and nights waiting for your return, and now I'm so happy that I have you back. We have to celebrate this day together. Actually, everyone in the city, everyone on Tuangra and everyone in the universe is celebrating your arrival. Wow, I said, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Even if they have never met me personally? It may be difficult for you to comprehend. Although every soul in this world is its own being, the state of being here doesn't mean the same thing as in your world. When I told you that I was counting the days and nights, the entire city, the entire world and the entire universe felt the same way as I did because they're all with me in the oneness. She paused as she saw that I was visibly overwhelmed with this information and would need time to process all of what she had told me. It's all right, Tim, when your state of remembrance returns, you will understand everything, she comforted me. But what really matters is that you have now woken up to discover the meaning of life, after being asleep and dormant for such a long time. This is the most important thing. Imagine that you were camping on a field outside with your family and friends, and that you had fallen asleep but was suddenly woken up. Everyone around you is still asleep, your friends, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, and your loved ones. You found out that there is an imminent danger nearby, a wildfire, or some poisonous insects or dangerous animals are approaching you all. But close to the field where you are camped is a river, and you would only have to cross a small bridge to get to safety. What would you do? She asked. Well, I replied spontaneously, I would wake them up and get them to safety. Yes, if you truly love them, you will wake them immediately. I'm using this example because in this moment, your world is in the same situation. No one knows who he is, where he comes from, what he is doing, nor where he has to go in the end. Everyone is in a state of ignorance. And your world is facing the greatest danger that has ever occurred in the history of the universe, and that is the changes of its magnetic network. In summary, Anyone who is unable to elevate the level of his consciousness before this operation takes place will be left behind. And being left behind in this place means that they have no chance of ever coming back. This is going to happen because the world will have a different magnetic field network in the following era of new energy. There will no longer be a place for those with a lower level of consciousness. The newborn population will need to have a much higher consciousness. This population consists of new volunteers, and only those who are able to elevate their consciousness before the old magnetic field closes down will survive this operation. And this is why I have an urgent request for you, she said in a very serious tone. All right, I said, not quite sure where she was going. Please tell me what your request is. But I have to warn you, how many people will survive in the new era depends entirely on the decision you make. Whoa, wait, I exclaimed, what does that have to do with me? I was shocked by the implication of what she had told me. 60% of the entire humanity never cared to follow the religious rules in your world. It's as if they are in a deep sleep without knowing how to wake up. In fact, they have not even realized that they are asleep. The other 39%, who we regard as moral people, at least know that they are asleep and are trying to wake up, but since they have misinterpreted the religious rules, they too are in a similar deep sleep. And only a very small percentage of people, less than 1%, are really awake in your world. She gave me another intense look before she went on. Now, you have two options, and I won't force you in picking a choice. The first choice. Stay here and live happily and for eternity in this world with your wonderful wife and your soon-to-be-born daughter. Your second option. Go back to Gaia and tell all the people there everything that you have learnt, so that they know how to return, or learn how to change in order to survive and become part of the new population in the era of the new energy field. She stopped talking and looked at me intensely. You, I started to say, but I was so stunned that I couldn't say a word. I paused for a few minutes to gather my thoughts. Just a few days before, I was very eager to go home. I had wished I could go back to my friends and live in the environment that I was used to. But now, I felt despair with the thought of going back to my old life, struggling to earn a living and making ends meet, and striving to elevate my social status and make a name for myself. It's difficult to explain. If I asked myself now if I would ever consider going back to Earth, my honest answer would be a firm no, because, for once in my life, I have found the ideal place to live. I hesitated for a moment before I asked, what would you want me to tell them? I saw a faint expression of hope on her face. Based on all the experiences that you had during these last 6 days, I think you already know what you have to say to them. I know that you are asking this to get my confirmation. In fact, you have already entered the state in which you are able to access all knowledge by yourself because you can communicate with me. You can hear me and discuss with me. And, most importantly, you acknowledge my existence. This is the process for those whom you describe as the enlightened ones because you understand that this temple and everything else here is actually an illusion. Nothing here physically exists. Everything you see exists only in your perception. This means that whenever you want to communicate with me, whether in this world or in any other world, you will always be able to do so. She rested her hand on my arm and continued. In the past, you were like a person afflicted with a serious disease, and no matter where you turned, you only saw others with the same disease. What shocked you most is that no one even seemed to know that they too had the disease. All of you have suffered for so long, until one day you discovered the cure. And the best news is that you can heal yourself, and that there is no need for a doctor or medicine. You can be completely healed of this serious disease by applying some simple principles. And now you're the only one who knows how to treat this disease, and you are the only hope for mankind, she said dramatically. This is a lot to contemplate, a huge burden on my shoulder, and the most difficult decision I have ever had to make in my life, I admitted. I understand you well, she replied. Hypothetically, if I agree to go back to my world, what happens to my family with whom I've started to build a relationship? How will they feel if I leave them now? I asked. Here on Tuangra, none of the familiar principles from Gaia can be applied here, she answered. You don't have to worry about anything. All children who are born here are loved and taken care of by everyone. In fact, I want you to be assured that everyone here loves your child as much as you do. But what about Kaharu, my wife? Kaharu has known everything since the beginning. She knew that you would come here and would have to make a choice. If you ask whether she loves you or not, she will tell you that she loves you with all her heart, but that she also loves every soul that is left in your world as much as she loves you. If that tragedy should really happen, many souls from the same soul family here will be incomplete, and many others would be left behind. She would gladly sacrifice her own happiness to help all of them, she said. And what about my life? How would my life be? I asked, knowing that I started to sound a bit desperate. This is why the choice is yours, she replied. I have to be honest and tell you that this mission is extremely tough because you would have to face people's criticism and resistance at every level, especially from those who are regarded to be the most knowledgeable in your society. You would face a huge pressure that can spiral into violence, as this is a situation in which people are driven by sins, an era of arrogance and pride. And in the end, you would have to face the most critical situation on Earth. Your world is greatly shaken due to the disasters that are happening everywhere. All kinds of danger will threaten and challenge you like never before in your life. There will be hunger and starvation, severe epidemics, abnormal climates, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, storms, gigantic waves from the sea, and wild animals trying to escape death and survive, and many more. She indeed drew a very dark and gloomy picture. Despite knowing all this, you would still want me to go me back? Don't worry, Tim, she said, tightening her grip on my arm reassuringly. I will always be by your side. And the other highly evolved beings who are working on the technical operation will also help you and keep you safe. But trust me, you and the others who are awakened will be unaffected by the situation, however terrible it will be. I was still hesitating and considering which decision I should make. I have one more question. Supposing I complete my mission successfully and the world has entered the age of the new energy field, will I still be able to return here? Of course, you can always choose between staying on Gaia until your life ends or returning to Tuangra at any time since this is your right. You only have to tell us that you want to come back and we will bring you back at once, she said.